Welcome to Neo Nexus. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more insights so you never miss a beat on the latest economic shifts and policy moves. Let's talk copper, the unsung hero powering everything from your phone to your home, from electric vehicles to the wires in your walls. It's the backbone of modern infrastructure and technology. On July 1, 2025, the Trump administration shocked global markets with a sudden 25% tariff on all copper imports. The announcement came out of nowhere, catching everyone off guard. No warning, no transition, just instant chaos for industries relying on affordable copper. Factories scrambled to recalculate costs, and executives rushed to emergency meetings. By July 30th, the tariff doubled to 50% and expanded to cover not just raw copper but pipes, wires, and copper-heavy components. The scope widened, hitting every link in the supply chain. The new rate hit August 1st with no grace period. Even goods already en route were affected. Shipments caught mid-ocean suddenly became far more expensive. Imagine ordering copper tubing weeks ago, only to have its cost double mid-shipment. Businesses were left scrambling to cover unexpected losses. U.S. copper prices plunged, mining stocks tumbled, and manufacturers faced soaring costs and broken supply chains overnight. The volatility sent shockwaves through financial markets. The U.S. imports nearly half its copper, so this move sent shockwaves through construction, automotive, and electronic sectors. Projects stalled, and production lines slowed to a crawl. Suddenly, businesses faced layoffs, bankruptcies, and a future with no clear rules. Workers and owners alike were left in limbo, unsure what tomorrow would bring. The game had changed overnight, and nobody had a new rulebook. The copper tariff shockwave left the nation searching for answers in a world turned upside down. Why detonate this economic bomb? The official line: national security and economic patriotism. The administration claimed foreign countries like Canada, Chile, and Peru were undercutting U.S. miners with cheap subsidized copper. Using Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, the White House bypassed Congress, citing a national security threat. Domestic miners cheered, seeing tariffs as a lifeline and a promise kept. But the reality? U.S. mines can't meet demand or supply the specialized copper grades needed for high-tech industries. The policy ignored the vast ecosystem of American manufacturers now facing higher costs and supply shortages. The simple story of protecting jobs overlooked the complex reality of global supply chains. The fallout was swift. Costs for manufacturers soared by 50% overnight. Small businesses faced bankruptcy or had to pass costs to customers, risking their survival. Companies with fixed-price contracts like transformer builders suddenly operated at a loss. The tariff, meant as a surgical tool, acted like a sledgehammer, smashing stable business models. No duty drawback meant even re-exported goods paid the tariff, making the U.S. less attractive for manufacturing. New domestic sales requirements forced companies to rethink supply chains built over decades. The unpredictability stalled investment and hiring. Green energy industries, wind, solar, EVs were hit hard, as copper is essential for their products. The tariff made the green transition more expensive, undermining energy independence goals. Policy incoherence reigned, exposing how deeply interconnected modern industries are. The copper tariff was just the beginning, a spark that ignited a much larger conflict. What started as a targeted move quickly spiraled into something far more consequential, setting the stage for a global showdown. The administration escalated, slapping broad tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and the EU, America's closest allies and largest trading partners. Suddenly, decades of cooperation were at risk. Canada faced a punishing 35% tariff on all exports, threatening industries from lumber to technology. Mexico and the EU were hit with 30% tariffs on key goods, cars, food, semiconductors, striking at the heart of their economies and disrupting established trade flows. Global supply chains built on decades of free trade were thrown into chaos. Delays, shortages, and bottlenecks rippled across industries, affecting everything from electronics to groceries. Companies couldn't plan or invest, paralyzed by uncertainty over future costs, shifting regulations, and unpredictable markets. The U.S. bet that its economic might would force concessions, but instead, allies prepared to retaliate, determined to defend their own interests. Instead of capitulation, the world braced for a tit-for-tat trade war. Retaliatory tariffs and countermeasures became the new normal. The U.S. led the charge away from the very system it helped build, unraveling decades of global economic cooperation. Economic fragmentation loomed with no clear winners in sight, only mounting losses and growing uncertainty for all. The global order was unraveling, one tariff at a time, as nations struggled to adapt to a rapidly changing world. America's trading partners struck back, fast, smart, and with a touch of creativity that caught many off guard. The European Union wasted no time. They denounced the tariffs in strong terms, rallying member states and preparing a coordinated response. Retaliatory measures and legal challenges were quickly set in motion, signaling that the EU would not back down easily. Canada, meanwhile, took a strategic approach. They targeted iconic U.S. products from key swing states, bourbon, cheese, oranges, turning tariffs into a political liability for American leaders and making sure the impact was felt where it mattered most. But Canada's most memorable move? The Great Maple Syrup Retaliation, strict export limits on their signature product. Suddenly, a breakfast staple became a symbol of national pride and resistance. It wasn't economically devastating, but it dominated headlines and captured imaginations worldwide, highlighting the absurdity and unexpected consequences of the trade war. The world rallied against the U.S. approach, exposing the flawed belief that others needed America more than vice versa. Protests and diplomatic pushback grew louder. Allies proved they were sovereign nations, not passive markets. They showed unity and resolve, forging new partnerships and standing up for their own interests. Retaliation made it clear: trade wars are never one way. They spiral into cycles of mutual harm, with both sides suffering economic pain and uncertainty. The global backlash was unified and swift, as countries coordinated their responses and the world watched the standoff unfold in real time. In a globalized world, everyone loses in a trade war. Disrupted supply chains and rising prices hit consumers everywhere, proving that no nation is truly isolated. The syrup standoff became a sticky, unforgettable symbol of resistance, reminding everyone that even the sweetest things can become weapons in a global dispute. The real pain hit American wallets. Tariffs acted like a hidden tax, raising prices on groceries, cars, appliances, and electronics. Everyday costs soared, squeezing low and middle-income families the hardest. Construction and car prices jumped, making homes and vehicles less affordable. Inflation eroded wages, while manufacturers cut jobs to survive higher costs and lost export markets. The very workers' tariffs were meant to help faced layoffs and uncertainty. The Federal Reserve was trapped: raise rates to fight inflation or risk recession and more job losses. The trade war left Americans poorer, with no easy way out. The 2025 tariff turmoil shattered trust in the global trading system. Decades of cooperation gave way to unpredictability and isolation. By invoking national security against allies, the U.S. signaled it could abandon agreements at will. Allies diversified away from the U.S., eroding American influence. The lesson: in a connected world, trade wars hurt everyone. Tariffs meant to protect one sector damaged many others, at home and abroad. Economic walls create prisons, not prosperity. The copper conflict proved that only cooperation and open trade paved the way to shared success.